Alright, so it's been about a month since we got back from Moab, and the Jeep really hasn't ran that much or moved that much. I think I took it to McDonald's once, but it's basically just been sitting here in the garage. And before I get the 8.8 swapped in, I want to do a little things, address a few items that came up on our Moab trip, a couple weak spots. But before I do that, I'm going to take it and pressure wash it really good because it's still got Moab dirt on it, and it's still, or now it's got grinding dust and stuff on it too from working on that rear axle. So I'll get it washed up, cleaned up, and while it's out, it's actually due for its smog too, so I'll go ahead and get that done. Then we'll come back here and start working on it. But before I do that, I need to air up the tires because they're almost flat from sitting for a month. It's mainly just the front right tire. That one seems to go flat. Well, not flat, but it seems to lose air pretty regularly. That was the first bead lock I did, so it kind of makes sense. I probably just didn't do a very good job mounting it, but whatever. Let's get some air in it and get going. Alright, past smog, no problem. Got it cleaned up. One thing that I thought was pretty cool though, this is an Islander. I didn't know it was an Islander trim. I knew it originally had the trim that went all the way down the side with the factory side step. I knew it had that just based on the holes that are in the tub. Didn't know it was an Islander though. I knew it had been repainted, however many years ago, but when the smog report printed out and I was looking at it, it has YJ Islander on it. So that's pretty cool. So it would have had the the stripes right here with the little sun logo, and I think the hood had, like a sun or something on it too, so. Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know it was an Islander, but now I know. Alright, first things first, I'm going to go around and retorque all the suspension bolts because I'm sure they have come loose a little bit from the Moab trip. Starting with the U-bolts. Alright, so I'm just going to start at the front and work my way back with addressing little things here and there, little weak spots that we found in Moab. The first one, and arguably the biggest problem, is this Pitman arm. This is the factory Pitman arm that's been reamed out for a Chevy 1-ton tie rod end. And even though this drag link is parallel to this tie rod end that's on this Pitman arm came into contact with the drag link more than once, quite a few times, and it hit hard enough at one point to shear the Zerk fitting off, which isn't, that strong of a part, but the fact that it had that much contact is an issue. And there's witness marks on the tie rod here too. So I was thinking about what I could do to address that, and I called Parts Mike, and they sent me this. This is a flat Pitman arm for a YJ, and it's already reamed out for a 1-ton end. Just looking at this, I don't think that's reamed out far enough for that particular tie rod end, so we'll see how well that fits, but I'm going to put it flat. Well, it only goes on flat. I'm going to put it on with the tie rod end facing down just like it is there, and that should give me some more clearance. I'm a little worried about the little radiator hose hitting, but when I put the body lift on, that'll give me another inch there. This is about 3/4 of an inch longer than the factory Pitman arm too, so if you were having issues with steering angle, or you don't have enough steering angle, longer Pitman arm could help with that. So, alright, let's get this off. Yeah, see, it's pretty close. You can see how close that is. Nowhere near reamed out enough. I'll have to ream this Pitman arm out a little bit more. Not that big of a deal. I have a reamer, so it's just annoying when you have to modify a brand new part that you just bought. So I've tried to take this Pitman arm off once before, and it is really, really on there. So I went and bought the biggest, baddest Pitman Arm Puller I could find that would fit. This is OTC, part number 522088. And this is like a heavy duty one for like bigger trucks and stuff. So This was bending my other Pitman Arm Puller in half. So let's see if this does any better. Wow, that took it off no problem. Nice. Didn't even have to use heat. There's the two holes, so I got to ream this one out to match this one. But you can see how much longer this new one is, and it has no drop. Looks like our clearance is going to be okay. It's a little tight, but that'll get better when I put that body lift on, like I said. It'll raise that radiator up. There's part number for the reamer. Isn't that the coolest part number ever? 1776 USA. Alright, we're good. Didn't take much, but I can just get a cotter pin in there now. So if you did ream this too far, you could always just put a washer under this nut, you know, to put the castle portions back to line up with the hole in the stud, but it's better to just not have to do that. I probably should have put some anti-seize on that, and I didn't even think about it till now, but whatever. If this could get it off after 30 years, it'll get this new one off if I ever need to. That clears it. Yeah, there's room there. It'll get better with the body lift too. Well, unfortunately, this new Pitman arm hits the old track bar bracket. So I need the steering. I don't need the track bar bracket. So it's gone. Still hitting right there. I cut some more. Much better. Another small issue up here on the front is these U-bolts. I really should have trimmed these before we left. There's really no excuse for that. I just felt kind of rushed and was doing other things, but they were hitting the ground pretty bad. I'm going to trim them now, though. Much better. Now I can do the other side. Alright, last thing on the front. I don't know if these tie rod ends are hitting under full compression or full lock to lock or what's going on, but you can see they're a little shiny, and the wheel, occasionally the wheel will have a little shiny spot, like right there. See that little shiny spot? So I think they're hitting just a little. And these are the offset tie rod ends. I don't think I really need those, but for now, just to help, keep the wheel from getting damaged, I'm just going to knock this down with the flap wheel just a little bit. There we go. And there's so much meat there on these tire ends that it doesn't matter if I take a little bit off. Alright, that's it for the front. We'll get it turned around, and got a couple things on the back that I want to do, but that's much better. Alright, first thing on the back. This tailpipe got crushed at least once whenever I came off of a ledge. And you can see how much further it sticks out, than the bumper. And it's way ahead of the shackle. So I'm just going to cut maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch off of this tip. I've already straightened it out as best I can, but I'm going to cut a little bit off, see how it does. If I hit it again, I'll cut another 1/4 inch off, etc. Just kind of tuck it back up in there a little. It doesn't need to be sticking out this far. And obviously it's a detriment when you're coming off of a ledge. So let's see if I can get it with the 4 inch. I'll try to follow the same angle. There we go, that's a little better. The angle was kind of hard to follow since the bottom of the pipe was all crushed in, but I don't think it looks too bad. Got about 1 inch cut off or so, something like that. So we'll give that a shot. Alright, last thing is this CB antenna. So when we got home, I noticed that there is a huge cut right here near the top, and the outside shell is busted. There's like 5 or 6 windings inside the antenna that are cut in half. So this antenna is never going to function like that with the windings cut. So this is garbage, and you can't really repair that. So I was looking at this thing, and I was like, how the heck did that get busted? I didn't go any low garages or anything while we were in Moab. It doesn't make sense how that busted so bad. So then I noticed it lines up perfect with the top of the spare tire carrier. And I remembered when we were driving, and this was on the trailer, and we were doing 75, 80 miles an hour. Sometimes if we would pass an 18-wheeler or something, I guess the air around that 18-wheeler was so crazy that this thing just started flopping back and forth like crazy. I could see it in the mirror. And I thought it was pretty funny. I didn't realize it was actually damaging the antenna. So lesson learned there. Whenever this thing's on the trailer, this antenna needs to come off and be stored inside the Jeep or truck or whatever. One thing I want to do is definitely make sure these are adjusted, or this new one is adjusted. You see it needs to come out just a little bit. Junk. Fixed. Alright, there it is. As far as issues go, that wasn't too bad, to be shaking down a relatively new build at Moab of all places. I didn't bother trimming the U-bolts on the rear axle because those U-bolts are going in the trash anyway when I get to swapping in my 8.8. So I got another video coming up maybe next week about just prepping this one and getting it ready to swap in. Prior to swapping it in, I'm also going to do the body lift, the motor mount lift, and the upper shock mounts for the rear. Since I'm raising the shock mounts up on the axle, I'm raising the upper shock mounts on the frame up a couple inches too, so that I can keep the same shocks and not lose any articulation or limit my suspension travel that way. I got a ton of parts coming up to put on for the rear axle swap, so that video is going to be a doozy.